Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remus.
What is up, everybody? It is game day. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson with you. The Vegas Golden Knights in town, part of the Pillow Fight Pacific Division. We get a chance to see our old pal Gary Lawless. He will join us on the show today for a fun chat from down at the rink. We'll also hit the entire National Hockey League and, of course, tonight's game with Brandon Rewucki. And if you can believe it, I know there's still snow outside, although at least the sun is shining. But tomorrow is the first day of the Major League Baseball season. The Yankees are going to play on opening night. We got opening day on Thursday. And then Friday, finally, the Blue Jays are back. I believe they're at home to the Athletics to kick things off and raise their American League banner. Pat and Jake are going to pop by, and we're going to dive into our favorite futures bets of the year before first pitch tomorrow night. So we'll do a little extended cool bet segment after 2:30 with the boys, but lots of hockey up until then. Massive slate of games tonight in the National Hockey League, 15 of them. And obviously, if the Jets want to have any chance of being a playoff team, they got to keep winning. Huge week for them at home with these quick two games. Vegas tonight, the Colorado Avalanche coming up on Thursday. In shirts off your back nights, there'll be some lucky fans getting game-worn jerseys from the game presented after the game by the Winnipeg Jets. And then it's out on the road to Colorado. So this is a make-or-break week for the Winnipeg Jets. If you're still holding out hopes of the whiteout and some playoff action, they got to get it tonight and then keep it going against the Colorado Avalanche. We'll get Connor in here right away. He was down at the morning skate. We'll hear what Scott Arniel had to say and see how the clean line lines are looking for today's game. Just before we do that, do want to thank all of our sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, the gang over at CoolBet, Princess Auto, Clean Line, Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba Battery and Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Manitoba Building Trades and the Manitoba Federation of Labor, Uptown Alley, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, and we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you've subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. And all you podcast listeners, we love you. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Connor Hrabchak, fresh off the morning skate. What's going on, pal? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Huss. Doing great. Last night was a random off night for me in terms of watching sports. And I think with the one NHL game featuring a team that put up, 9 shots on goal in the New York Rangers, I think I picked the right night to stay off the telly and stay away from sports for an evening. So yeah, back at it today. Jets Golden Knights tonight, morning skate, a few players in yellow non-contact jerseys. So we can talk about that. And huge slate with one game last night. There's 15 tonight. You know, the NHL loves doing that, loading up on these Tuesdays. So lots to get to. I'm here for it.
You know what? You missed out big time last night because I take it you did not watch match 1 of the finals of the TGL.
No, I did not.
Dude, I love the TGL. It is so much fun. So it's the championship. Okay. It was the first match last night. The second
Tiger
match
tonight,
goes tonight. Well, yeah, Kevin Kisner was so bad yesterday. He lost the final hole to a Sahith Theegala. LA won. So Jupiter Lynx has told Kiz he's going to get back to podcasting. And Eldrick is back. And this will be huge for the ratings. I mean, for people to see him. I mean, Tiger was there last night. He was a captain. I think it just goes to show you, I'm sure TGL was pushing for him to play anyways, but Kiz is not capable of hanging with the big boys anymore. So Tiger is in tonight. And I would have to think that that does bode well for potentially a return to Augusta and the Masters in a little bit. But it was funny. I was all over the map last night following the Ottawa game. And if you recall we did the cool bet lines last night. He said, okay, we're going to go with the very simple Ottawa LAGC parlay was plus 157. LAGC almost lost that. They had to come back, but that was great. That was a winner. And then we added from the lock shop the Spurs, who crushed their opponent, and the Raptors minus 12.5 in Utah. And the Raptors were up 31 in the fourth quarter. And then Utah went on a 16-0 run and actually got it under the 12.5. Got a couple late baskets. They covered. So we are hot right now in the lock shop and in our cool bet line segment. Hopefully that can carry over to some season-long bets for the baseball a little bit later on. But it was a fun night. Obviously, our focus is on Winnipeg and Vegas tonight. And by the way, I will shout out our good friend, Dr. Terry of St. Vital Dental Center, who texted me before the show, and I think his little girl's got hockey tonight. He can't make the game, so he said, you know what, Huss, why don't we give my tickets out, some very nice lower bowl seats in section 207 to a WST listener. So how are we going to do this? And Remo's away for a couple days. He'll be back later on this week, enjoying a little bit of very well-earned time off. If you want to go to the game tonight and can make it, we won't. Obviously, with Remus not here, we won't be able to do the wheel spin. So I will do something on my end. If you can use either Twitter, X, or Instagram, you know my handle, Hustler AMA, Hustlerama. You send me a message and include your email because I'm going to have to send these tickets out. So if you can and want to go to the game tonight, send me a message, a DM, or a message on Instagram. A little later on in the show, during a break, I will go in. We will actually, I could probably do a wheel spin on my own computer here. But whatever, I'll announce the winner later on today. So if you'd like to go to the game, courtesy of Dr. Terry, St. Vital Dental Center, send me a message on X or on Instagram, and we will announce a winner later on today. Good luck to all of you. Connor, the team back after 3 points in a very busy weekend, 3 out of 6, which isn't really good enough for what they're trying to do right now. We got a dozen games left. They got the Vegas Golden Knights, who come in a very strange situation, pretty comfortable for the playoffs, not entirely, but in the middle of a division that just no one seems to want to run away with. What was the vibe like down at the rink this morning for the skate?
Yeah, good vibe around the team as Nino Niederreiter and Vlad Nemeskov both joined the skate for the first time today in yellow non-contact jerseys since suffering their injuries. So a little bit of a boost there, at least in the room, with two veterans and longtime Winnipeg Jets the past couple of seasons here rejoining the team. Scott O'Neill after the skate didn't have an update on those players, still said they're probably about a week away from taking contact. So I don't think you're going to see them back in the lineup in these next two home games here against the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche on Thursday. When the Jets go on the road, maybe that's when those players start skating in regular contact jerseys, and maybe we can have that conversation. But Huss, the thing that stood out to me in terms of like vibe down at the rink, the Jets skate first in their morning skate at 10:30, and then Vegas hits the ice at 11:30. That's normal protocol for morning skates. The road team always goes second. I was at Jets morning skate, just a normal morning skate, nothing crazy. And then Vegas came on the ice, and it was maybe the most vocal, loud, cheerful morning skate I've heard down at Canada Life Center this year. And I was talking to Gary Lawless down at the skate, and he was saying they just came off one of their best wins of the season with a 3-2 win in Dallas. And this is their final game of a road trip for the Vegas Golden Knights. So the vibes are very high for this Vegas team that's been up and down all season long. But right now they're up because they just went into Dallas and picked up one of the most impressive wins on their season. So the morale around the Vegas Golden Knights morning skate was very, very high. And that's something that stood out to me down at the rink this morning.
Yeah, well, I mean, it speaks to the season that they've had because they won one game and now everything's great.
Right.
Like if you go back to their last 2.5 months, they've got like 3 wins over teams that are in the playoffs. It's really crazy. Now, that being said, I think we all realize that there's a lot more from this team. I mean, I've been thinking that all year. I've been thinking the same thing about the Edmonton Oilers. Now, we'll see whether the Oilers have more to give. It's time to figure it out. But the bottom line is, when you look at Vegas, I mean, they had so many Olympians. I think they had 5 in the gold medal game. This is a team that should probably be 10 points clear of everyone else in the division compared to everything else that's happened. Now, they're fortunate that they're not desperately trying to, cling on to a wild card spot and having to go through the Central Division. But that's something that is benefiting Anaheim, Edmonton, and Vegas right now. They've still got a lot of talent on this team. And, Jack Eichel's going to roll out with Barbashev and Stone tonight. Interesting to see Mitch Marner at center. It looks like he's going out with Dorofeev and Riley Smith, assuming he's sort of day-to-day, assuming he's able to go. But, we've talked a lot about second-line center here in Winnipeg, and what do you do? Well, Mitch Marner's been one of the best wingers in the league. They just moved him to center and put him down. So bottom line is, this is going to be a big challenge for Winnipeg because, as you mentioned, Vegas coming off a great win against the Dallas Stars. They haven't had a lot of those. And this is a team like the Oilers, who have very high expectations going into this season, wanting to use these final dozen games to build up and be peaking as they get ready for what could be, in all likelihood, looking at the standings right now, a head-to-head matchup with Vegas and Edmonton, while Anaheim, who looks to have the inside track on winning the division, takes on Utah in the first round.
Totally. You mentioned the lead for Anaheim in the division there. It's 4 points, but Anaheim has a game in hand. So Anaheim definitely in the driver's seat in the pillow fight Pacific Division. And you look at each of these teams' last 10 games, Anaheim 6-3-1, Vegas 4-6-0, and Edmonton 5-4-1. So Anaheim at 6-3-1 is pulling away in the division race. Like it's not a dominant week or past couple of weeks for Anaheim, but yet they're pulling away from a team like Vegas, who's below 500 in their last 10. But like we've said a few times, coming off one of their best wins of the season just a couple nights ago in Dallas, beating them 3-2. So Vegas, this is a crucial 2 points for them if they want to maintain that Pacific Division race and maybe even win the division. Because look, I don't know, Huss, if you're Vegas, I know Edmonton has their struggles, Draisaitl's hurt, but I'd rather play Utah as a veteran team, the Vegas Golden Knights. A lot of your core has won a cup. I'd rather go up against the young, inexperienced Utah Mammoth, even though Utah might be a better team than Connor McDavid. I think McDavid can just kind of take over a series and stress you out, obviously. But I think if you're Vegas, you'd rather win the division and take on a team like Utah rather than facing Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers in round one, even without Leon Draisaitl. So big game for Vegas, and obviously for the Winnipeg Jets, 5 points out of a playoff spot. Nashville won the other night. Every single team is in action tonight in terms of Nashville, LA, Seattle, San Jose. Nashville and San Jose are actually playing each other, so someone's got to win that game. And obviously the Jets are taking on Vegas at home. So a big game for both teams.
Yeah, we'll get to the games in just a minute. But let's focus in on how the Jets are going to be looking tonight with our Clean Line lines, brought to you by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets, with 24/7 emergency services when you need it. Remember the number 204-500-2001 whenever you need the services of Clean Line. They'll be there for you, backing it up. Connor Scheifele, Iafallo, Perfetti, and Velarde with Adam Lowry, who snapped his goal-scoring drought. And this is the look now. I mean, we have to admit that Morgan Barron is playing up. This is no longer the fourth-line center, Connor. It's Morgan Barron, Brad Lambert, Isaac Rosine. I hope we see a lot of that line tonight as we did on the weekend. And Jonathan Taves with Koepke and NyQuil. Morrissey Pionk as the top pairing, Sandberg and Salamonson as the two pairing, and Fleury, DeMello. Talked a lot yesterday about that move with DeMello to the third pairing, kind of fortifying that. And, whether we see more Salamonson with Morrissey, which I'm certainly here for, and Pionk-Sandberg, or Pionk with Morrissey, with Salo and Sandberg, to me, I really hope that this is the way that this team runs for the rest of the way. It is important for Elias to continue to play these big minutes and get this experience. And as we've talked about before, very much up for the task. The Barron line is interesting in that we've kind of been saying, hey, we'd love to see more Morgan Barron. I think Brad Lambert made a big case of seeing more Brad Lambert on the weekend. And I know Scott Arniel talked about that this morning after the morning skate, Connor.
Yeah, Arniel was asked what has stood out about Lambert's game and the confidence and the comfortability that he's experiencing now with this team, having been here a couple of games and a couple of weeks and all of that stuff. And he said what stood out to him is his play away from the puck. Obviously, when Brad Lambert has the puck on his stick and he's skating the puck in transition, there's the speed, the offensive flash. You see that quite a bit, but Scott Arniel's liked the forechecking, the physicality, the back checking. He mentioned that Lambert has had a few strong back checks over this time as well. And look, if they're going to be playing on that third line with Lambert, Roseanne, and Barron, all three of those guys, there's enough offensive juice there to produce offensively and spend a lot of time in the offensive zone. And then if a guy like Lambert can steal a few possessions by back checking or winning a battle in the corner, that's how that line can be a very strong third line, not just a good one. So yeah, that one's really interesting to me. And Brad Lambert at home with Barron and Roseanne, how do they use that in the matchup game as well? And I think the decor, Huss, you mentioned it there. Salamonson absolutely earned and should be in the top four, not only for better preparation of next season, but I think there's a very strong argument that if you want this team to make a playoff push, he should be playing more than Dylan DeMello anyways. Like, he might just be better than Dylan DeMello today, Like, I don't think it's all next season. And the way that the top four shakes out too is interesting to me, especially at home, because we know Arniel likes to use Sandberg with Lowry usually in the matchup role. So you'll probably see a lot of those two against Eichel tonight, Eichel, Stone, and Barbashev. And then that frees up Morrissey and Pionk with Scheifele, Connor, and Iafallo to be kind of this all offense, get the matchup against maybe the Mitch Marner second line and kind of push for offense that way. So I'm going to be watching for that. Vegas has a very strong top nine in terms of forwards. So how the Jets handle the matchup game at home with Pionk back, but with Salamonson still with Sandberg, is going to be something I'm watching for tonight for sure.
As you can see at the bottom of the Cleveland lines, it is Hellebuck getting the start today. Eric Comrie's been brilliant yesterday. I don't know whether Mike was just trying to get a little action on his column, but he did ask the coach about Eric Comrie at the end of the game on Thursday. And then today was asked again. He had the piece in the Free Press. Let me put this out to you, gang, in the chat. Why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray? If it was your decision, who are you starting tonight for the Winnipeg Jets? Is it Connor Hellebuck or is it Eric Comrie, who is on a 6-game winning streak and had another really strong game on the week? First off, the guy that makes the decision, Scott Arniel, was asked about it. What did he have to say when questioned about who will be the starting goaltender tonight?
Yeah, so Ken Wiebe posed the question today. Eric Comrie had a strong start on Sunday. He asked, how did you make the decision to go back to Hellebuck tonight? And Arniel just kind of said, well, Hellebuck's a pretty good goalie too. And he did admit, later in his answer, Arniel did, that they've rethought maybe the goaltending a little bit down the stretch here, and they're maybe going to try and find Comrie starts and all of those things along those lines. He said down the road here, they'll see how the goaltending shakes out. But for tonight, Eric Comrie, 6-0 in his last 6 starts, hasn't really changed anything. The goaltending still going right back to Hellebuck. And Huss, I know this was a debate on KNR over the weekend. It might have been on Sunday after that Rangers game. I can't remember the last time that the Winnipeg Jets backup goaltender started back-to-back games other than Hellebuck being hurt this year. With Hellebuck, when was the last time a Jets goalie, they went like Comrie or Brossoit, right? They always just throw the backup in for one, no matter how good they play, they're going back to their guy. And you can't really blame them. I mean, he won the MVP last year. He is a very good goalie. But right now, Eric Comrie is making things interesting. And I think you have to give Comrie a ton of credit because he is 6-0 in his last 6 starts. And it's not like he's just getting a ton of run support. He has an over 940 save percentage across those 6 games. So Comrie's been awesome. He's made it a conversation, which is very interesting because, again, Connor Hrabchak is the reigning Hart Trophy winner. So for us to be talking goaltending at all is a credit to Eric Comrie. But I think still, if I was calling the shots tonight, Huss, I think I'd still go to Hrabchak. I don't know about you. You go back to your guy. If Hrabchak's bad tonight, you go back to Constay kind of thing, like a quick. But you go back to your guy, I think. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, from where I'm at, and listen, I understand. I mean, Comrie has been really good, and listen, this has been a down season overall for Helly, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything you could possibly do to convince me that on any given night, like tonight with 1 day's rest, I mean, we're not talking about back-to-backs or anything like that. In a game like this, you need to win. That Connor Hrabchak doesn't give you the best chance to win. So,
for sure.
I mean, to me, it's not really. I mean, I kind of chuckled when Mike was asking about it on the weekend, and I get it. That's his job. He's got to do that. But as much as I've got a lot of time for Eric Comrie, and listen, maybe give him an extra start down the stretch, especially depending on what happens with realistic, whether they're eliminated or not, no problem. But put it this way, if I'm Scott Arniel and I'm looking at the standings, knowing the only chance we have to win and get into playoff spot is to go on a heater right now, you're hoping that 37 does what he does in the Olympics for a number of games. So no surprise that Connor Hrabchak is going to be getting the nod tonight from Scott Arniel for the bit. There are Clean Line lines brought to you by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. You can check them out online at cleanline.ca. Lots of good comments on this, though. Like Paul Coffey says, Comrie should be starting till he loses. And there will be some coaches that don't care if you just want a Hart Trophy. They would go about that. I don't think we've had that. I mean, Jets Bombers guy says, Helly, because Comrie isn't as good. He's played really, really well lately. Knoxville, Helly, he's our goalie. I can't believe we're having this question with 70 games played in the season. And Tristan Rivers with a neat comment on DeMello. I love DeMello, but the idea of him on the third pair is great. Lost his step. Salomon-Son has proven he deserves to be there. And having Dylan DeMello on a third pairing is a strength, not a weakness, even if he's slowed. And I think it's a great point from Tristan. Great. If you're confident with that top 4 and can have a player like Dylan DeMello on that third pairing, whether it's Fleury, whether it's Bryson, who's new, I mean, Hainala, whoever you put in there, I think that third pairing is really shored up by having Dylan DeMello on it. And to be honest, I think Neil Pionk adds, well, he's not a big guy. He is physical. He plays with a bite. He hits. He adds something that I think we need on the other side of Josh Morrissey. Now, would I prefer a guy that was 6'4" that had that? Yeah. He's not here right now. That might be in the offseason. But, and then obviously the other point that we made, get Elias Salomon-Son out on the ice often as possible. And he just continues to, get better and show more and more confidence. Now, we'll make some picks later on and get through this after we do some baseball chat with Pat and Jake. But Connor, this is a crazy night in the NHL. And with Ottawa's win last night, you go to the standings. In the East, Carolina's 96, Buffalo's 95, Tampa's 91. And then you go from the Montreal Canadiens, who are in 4th in the conference, all the way down to the Ottawa Senators, who are 10th. There are 7 teams within 3 points of each other. Every single game is so massive tonight. And how about that? Ottawa loses 2 more defensemen last night. Carter Yakimchuk going to get called up and presumably play quite a bit in his first NHL experience. Ottawa in Detroit amongst the games. And that's not quite a loser leaves town match because of how many other teams that are close. But a win would be, we should check them. I'll check the money puck and find out how important that game is. But man, we've got, like, it is just so close. And this is the sort of game that Ottawa has been very resilient. They're going to be tested big time in the second end of back-to-backs.
Yeah, and Huss, you mentioned the injuries to Ottawa's defense core. They're already without Jake Sanderson, who's probably, easily a top 10 defenseman in the National Hockey League at a very young age. And then last night, Thomas Chabot takes a cross-check from JT Miller to the wrist area, goes right off, doesn't return. Travis Green, after the game, says he's going to be out for a while. Like, those are your top two defensemen on this team, with a team that's already struggled with goaltending this season. So I've got the money puck up here. If the Ottawa Senators win tonight in regulation, they go up to 74% to make the playoffs. If they lose to the Wings in regulation, they drop down to 47%. For the Wings, if they win in regulation, they're up to 68%. And if the Wings lose, they're down to 40%. So I guess a regulation loss would be more detrimental for the Wings tonight. They probably take into account, tougher schedule going forward. Ottawa has a much better goal differential, so you probably feel better about them down the stretch in terms of just winning their games. But the Ottawa defense core injuries have made it very, very interesting. And Ottawa obviously played in New York last night. Now it's a back-to-back with travel. So this is one of those playoff style games down the stretch here. Like, Huss, you remember the two games last year, the Jets played the Stars down the stretch, and it was like, whoever wins this game is going to be in the driver's seat for the Central Division and the President's Trophy. This is one of those games, not quite for a division title, but for a playoff race. It's a big one for both of those teams. And yeah, with 15 games being played in the National Hockey League, there is a huge chance for massive swings one way or another, depending on who wins and loses tonight.
Well, another one of those games is, very important to the Jets. It's the Sharks at Nashville. And again, There'll be a minimum of 2 points, potentially 3 points given out. If the Preds beat the Sharks in regulation, they go up to 61.3. If they lose, they go to 37. So again, we're talking about a 25-point difference basically between the two. And the Sharks, they're in tough spot. I mean, if they can win this, they go up to 24. They lose, they go down to 93. So some massive games. Montreal's at home to Carolina. The Kraken are in Florida to take on the Panthers. The Islanders have the Blackhawks at home. Columbus Blue Jackets are in Philly. I'm just looking at these games that have big-time playoff implications. The Kings are in Calgary, Edmonton, Utah, and then Anaheim, Vancouver later on tonight. What does Money Puck say about the Jets Vegas game tonight? They say it's a big game for the Knights. If they beat the Jets in regulation, they go up to 95%. If they lose in reg, they go to 85. And they say this is a pretty important game for the Jets. If they beat the Knights in regulation, they go to 9.9%. So you get up to 10%. If they lose, it's under 3%. So again, like I was saying beforehand, it really isn't about one game. Unfortunately, it's about putting 5 or 6 or 7 in a row together and then getting right to that threshold. And we won't need to talk about.
I'll just say this too, like these percentages.
Other points left on the table. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and these percentages that we're bringing up here, it's so important to note that the Jets, if with a win, go up to 9.9%. But then if San Jose beats Nashville, the Jets percentage might go up even further because then Nashville's falls and San Jose's goes up. And it might be all three of those teams are around 20% kind of thing, right? And in the East, it's the same thing. So yes, in a vacuum, if the Jets win tonight, they go to 9.9%. But then if Nashville just beats San Jose, then they probably go right back down to 7% or because it doesn't matter, right? Like Nashville matched them in 2 points and getting those 2 points. So there's so many different games tonight that you'll just have to look at the standings at the end of the night and kind of recalibrate everything because so much could change.
We'll fire up a few plays over with the Cool Bet lines at the end of the program. We will get to the baseball futures as well with Pat and Jake. But coming up, we're going to talk more Jets and NHL with Brandon Rewucki. And in just a couple of moments, none other than Gary Lawless returns to the show. We'll check out with Gary downtown in just a couple of minutes. Coming up next on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Hey, Bob, you hear the news?
I can't listen to the news, Daryl.
This is different.
Oh, it's so negative.
Not this time. Manitoba's got these new jobs agreements. And when the government builds things like new schools and hospitals, they'll hire Manitoba workers first.
Really?
Creating good jobs with union standards and more apprenticeships for Manitobans. And we'll get rid of those out-of-province license plates on job sites.
Keeping our money working for Manitobans, eh?
You betcha.
Well, that's how it should work.
I knew you'd like it.
A message from Manitoba's Building Trades and Federation of Labor.
Spring into good times at Uptown Alley and eat, drink, and play at the most fun spot in the city. You'll enjoy 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, a state-of-the-art arcade, and good times playing laser tag as well. And in addition, Uptown Alley features incredible food and drink options at their bistro. Pop down to Uptown Alley with your group or make it a party. It's the best place in Winnipeg for birthday parties for kids, teens, or adults, and an amazing spot for corporate events where you just simply pick your activities, any of your add-ons, what you'd like to eat, and the Uptown Alley staff takes care of everything else. For more information, go to uptownalley.ca, book a lane at 488-0000, or pop down and see him at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. Got a move coming up? Lean on our friends and longtime sponsors at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving and storage in Manitoba. Now into their 7th decade with over 60 years of experience, family owned and operated. Head over to their website at rollies.com to find out all about their services serving Winnipeg and southern Manitoba. In the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when you're moving, where you're moving to, and what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly and get you a great quote to get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for now for over 60 years in Winnipeg. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more and request an estimate today on your next move at Rollies.com. Has it been a minute since you've been to the dentist? If it is, our pal Dr. Terry and the wonderful staff at St. Vital Dental Center would love to see you. They've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans in St. Vital for years, and have now moved into a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. They'll handle customers and clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to surgeries like dental implants. Dr. Terry and the gang can absolutely do it all. We'll do it with a smile on their face and make your smile look even better than it's ever been. Go to stvitaldental.ca online to make an appointment. Pop into St. Vital Dental, get that girl taken care of, and tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. All right, this is going to be fun. Vegas in town, and that means a return of the lawman to WST. This segment is a presentation of GMC. Truck Month is on a GMC. If you want something reliable, tough, and ready for whatever the schedule throws at you, that's the 2026 Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Crew Cab in a nutshell. And it can be yours for 0% financing for 72 months with a factory 2-inch lift, off-road suspension, and a 5.3-liter V8. This is one ready for anything truck. Don't miss out. Get to your local GMC dealer and take advantage of Truck Month before it ends. Gary Lawless, back in the peg, back on WST. What's going on, my friend? How are things on the road with the Vegas Golden Knights?
That was an excellent read, Hustler. I want to go out and buy a Sierra myself right this minute. Well done.
Those are pretty badass. I will say. I would.
That's a pretty sweet ride. Yes.
How you been? What's going on?
Yes. I'm good. It's we actually had a day off here, so we got here. The team played in Dallas, beat Dallas in a really good game on Sunday night, 3-2. and then jumped on the bird right after. We were in Winnipeg. We were at the Fairmont by 1:30, and then yesterday was a day off, so got to do a whole bunch of Winnipeg things, and including taking a bunch of the Golden Knights staff to the Peasant Cookery, Hustler. Hadn't been there in a long time, but a good spot, and had a fun meal and a bunch of laughs. And highlight of the night, though, last night after dinner, walked into the lounge at the Fairmont, and I was about to sit down beside some of our other VGK colleagues, and there's a man at the end of the bar, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, you're the bleeper," used the F word with the ER on the back end of it, "that used to write for the Free Press." And I'm like, yeah, I used to work for the Free Press. That's correct. And then he kind of started cackling, laughing. And I looked at him again. I go, "Are you Pat Falloon?" He goes, "Yeah." It's Pat Falloon. And I said, "Why'd you call me a bleeper?" He goes, "I just wanted to get your goat. I watch Lawless and Order on the Vegas show all the time. I watch a lot of hockey." He's a farmer out in oh shoot! Now it's going to be.
He's from Foxmore, Manitoba. I'm not sure whether he's right back where he grew up.
Yeah, no, he is. He's got like 3,000 acres out in Foxwarren, and anyways, he was there with his lovely wife, and we had a little chat. And then the guys that were sitting beside me, two of them were like, one of them was our athletic therapist, one of them was our equipment guys, and one of them was our PR guy. I turned to them and I go, "Google Pat Falloon hockey DB," and they all did. And then they're like freaking out because of like they're seeing the statistics, and yeah. So then a little while later, Shane Knighty walked in. He had driven out to Neepawa for the day to see his mom and dad. So he walked in. I went, said, "Hey, Knights, say hi to Pat Falloon." And then they had a great, a little reminiscent chat. And then Shane was going through the draft order that year. Like there was some. Can you call that up, Huss? I don't have it at my fingertips.
Was that? I'll get that up. I'm just thinking, was that the Dig?
I don't. Maybe Aaron Ward went 5th.
Oh yeah, the Jets. That's right. No, that was Lindros. That was the
Lindros.
It was the Lindros
draft. It was the Lindros. Yes, that's right. Yeah, so Lindros first.
Pat Falloon. Scott Niedermayer.
Niedermayer goes 3rd amongst that group.
Yeah. Scott LaChance, Aaron Ward. The Jets took Aaron Ward. This is tough to look at. The next pick, Peter Forsberg.
Forsberg, yes. That's so Knighty was going through all. Shane knew them off by he rang them off last night at the bar, and we were. So this started these are the fun things that happen in the hockey season, right? You walk into one of these places, and all of this starts to happen. The other fun thing that happened yesterday. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I disagree. Being reminded of taking Aaron Ward over Peter Forsberg, not fun at all.
I have a great Aaron Ward story. You know it. I won't tell it again. But we were both working at TSN at the same time. And let's just say he wasn't as welcoming as some of the other fellows that I had just started being kind of a freelancer there. And we were at the All-Star game in Ottawa. And we went out for dinner. Anyways, I don't want to rehash it. Anyways, the other thing that happened yesterday that was really funny, I think I told you about this. Shane and I had to go to Lake Tahoe this summer for a VGK clinic. We had to go. Why can't I see you anymore, Hus? You just disappeared.
Yeah, well, because we want a full shot on you. There, I'm here. Don't worry, Gary.
We don't want a full shot of me. Split screen. I like to see that I'm talking to you, especially since I lost my readers. So I went down to the lobby this morning and I said, "Do you have anything in the lost and found?" And they said no. But this nice lady. She's probably about 75. She said to me, "Oh, I keep an extra pair. Just bring them back later." Look what she gave me.
I like it. You've upgraded. You look great in those. You look great in
the
those,
welding
Gary.
mask.
This. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Reem wasn't here to see that.
Yeah, where's Remus?
Folks, he's wearing those full time right now. He just took them off because he wanted to play it off like it's a bit. But 10
for regular listeners,
great look.
For regular listeners, Andrew's had that particular pair of readers for about 6 years, and I've been mocking him. Regular listeners, I've been mocking him every time. Anyways, so Nadia and I had to go to Lake Tahoe. So we're getting on the plane. We had to go to Lake Tahoe. So we get on the plane, and I'm like looking at my Twitter account. I'm like, oh, it's that celebrity golf tournament is this weekend. So, and every star on the planet is there. So I'm like, do we know anybody there? Like, we got to get into a party or whatever, And I will tell you this, like, it ended up with like Shane and I were in Charles Barkley's entourage. And at one point in the time, someone we were going somewhere, and someone said, if you get separated because it was really crowded, just tell the security, just say I'm with Charles, and so that became like the line of the weekend. Everywhere I went, I'm with Charles, and the ropes opened everywhere I went. It was better than being Jack Nicholson in L.A. Well, yeah, maybe. There you go. Yeah. Running my own celebrity talk show. Anyways,
Yes.
we as part of that weekend, you just finally kicked in there, eh, Huss? Is there a delay, or did it take you a minute to pick up what I was putting down? Anyways, part of that weekend, we became friends with the great golf commentator, Steve Sands. And now, we've listen, he's a great guy, great job. But he's a huge hockey fan. So we text all the time. So yesterday I visited with a friend yesterday afternoon, went by Myers, saw Harrison, grabbed an H&L. They don't have our picture up anymore. I was very disappointed in that. But anyways, Harrison looks great. His hair is going a little, it's all wild and woolly still, but it's going a little gray. And stop by Myers, folks, if you're in the Grant Court and Route 90 area. Steve Sands. So I go back to the hotel. I got to meet some guys at Earl's for a beer at 4:30. So I wrap up. I get to the hotel at 3:30. I decided I might have a 20-minute nap, but I put on overdrive. And O'Neill is doing this bit. O'Neill is doing this bit about he's flying back from a golf trip, and he's at the airport in Tampa, and he sees this guy, and he's got his computer out, he's got his ear plugs in, and he's on the phone having an important work conversation. And now ODog he takes some poetic license, because he said he walks up to Steve Sands. He thinks, is Steve? Like, Sandsy? Is that you? Sandsy? And he says that Sands brushes him off. Steve Sands wouldn't brush anyone off. That's not his style. So,
he didn't recognize ODog because he looked like George Hamilton with that tan that he picked up in
O'Neill. O'Neill had been golfing, and he got a little bit too much sun. So I'm watching the clip, and then they put it up on Twitter right away. So I send it to Sands, and we have another buddy. He goes, his nickname is Niner, and He's Charles Barkley's fart catcher. That's how this all comes together. Niner hangs out with Barkley and
you
sets
guys were
up,
all just in the cloud.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The best part of that weekend was we saw Brett. I don't watch the Brett Baird. He's like the Fox guy. He did Rapper's Delight at karaoke. Seriously, it was quite funny. Anyways, I don't get to watch Overdrive very often.
How did
in the U.S.
fans
Sometimes
respond to the accusations?
he goes, I've done the guy's show a million times, but it's on the phone. Like, I've met him once for 30 seconds. So no, I didn't recognize him. It was, anyways, it was a fun text exchange throughout the whole thing. All right. That's enough about my 24 hours in Winnipeg.
Before we get to the game, has your 24 hours included listening to the newest edition of Spittin' Chicklets by any chance?
Get these glasses.
Yeah, well, you look amazing. You look great.
Who's the newest edition of Spittin' Chicklets?
Well, Deandle, obviously. No, but have you listened to today's episode?
No, I haven't. What's on today? Oh, it's Brock Lesnar, isn't it?
It is. I haven't got to Brock Lesnar yet. But there was a Gary Lawless conversation that came out on today's show. Yes.
Well, what's it about?
Well, there are accusations flying that because of I'll use Connor McDavid's word, the pillow fight in the Pacific Division, that you have really picked your spots popping into the group chat with the odd nice stat of things going on with the VGK, but that with the current state of the team in the Pacific Division, you are either banned from going on right now by Kelly and George, or you are not wanting to jump on with those guys because for the first time, maybe ever, this Golden Knights team is maybe not where they were expected to be and going through some tough times.
I'll answer this I'll answer this very simply. You show me an invitation. Show me a formal invitation to join the fellas.
I figured.
And yes, that's.
You were more than willing to come on today, which we always appreciate. Yeah. Now that being said, I mean, the team that I ride with has had a even more tough season. I got to ask you though, like, how crazy? I mean, you've been in this league. You've been in Vegas for a long time. How crazy is this Pacific Division right now? I mean, the Ottawa Senators, who are out of the playoff, would be leading the division. Utah would be at the top. And it just doesn't seem like, I mean, specifically Edmonton and Vegas, the two teams we all expected to be at the top of the division, just haven't been able to really get anything consistently going right now. And there's not a lot of runway left before they maybe meet in the first round.
No, well, I can only speak to Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, there have been injuries at every position. I think they're second in the league in man games lost by salary cap, which is more important than man games lost because you can, your man games lost can be bloated with, your 13th forward or your seventh defenseman or whatever. It's how much salary cap have you lost? And Vegas is, they're number 1 or 2 in the league. Depending on, they're number 1 in the league if you include Petrangelo's money. They're number 2 in the league if you don't include his money. So that really is a huge story for them. They've missed a lot of really good players, including goaltending. Aiden Hill missed 39 games, and I think Carter Hart is I think he's been out for 10 weeks now. After they didn't get him, he wasn't available till December.
Did they expect him back? Are the hopes that he's back for the playoffs?
I think there's hopes that he's back before that. Like he was, they haven't ruled him out for regular season. That's for sure. So, and Bruce Cassidy said last week that he was skating and taking shots with other injured players. So you'd have to assume and hope that that's coming close. Although not a lot of time for him to get his game in shape at facing NHL shots. But anyways, yeah, goaltending is certainly an issue.
Let me ask you
Has
this.
been an issue,
This is
and
not
injuries.
unique. This is not unique to Vegas, but the Knights were amongst the teams that had the most Olympians of any team in the NHL. Like, what have you seen? Has it been tough for these guys to sort of get back and get into their, be at their best right now in the playoffs after the come down, if you will, of that tournament that obviously was about as good as it gets?
Yeah, I would say that Vegas had 5 players in the gold medal game, more than any other team in the NHL, and it's been a hangover for sure. So, when does that kind of, I don't expect, I thought Jack Eichel, I thought all those guys looked really good on Sunday in the 3-2 win over Dallas. So we'll see. It's the time is over for you to kind of be fits and starts. They got to go on a run here, and the division is still up for grabs. Although, Edmonton, I think Anaheim is 4 up with a game in hand. That's a pretty good. Wouldn't call it a stranglehold, but they're in good position. Like Anaheim, certainly they control their own destiny. Edmonton, it was pretty amazing to see McDavid, saying what he said after they got dismantled by the Lightning on the weekend. For him to, the pillow fight comment probably didn't make him any friends inside the division. Not that he would care about that. But then the sort of comments about, they're extremely well organized, impeccably coached. He came out yesterday and said that had no reflection on our own organization. It was just about the other team, and then he sort of said, I can understand why some might have taken it that way, but that wasn't the point of what I was saying. And you know what? Like, I'm not going to beat up Connor McDavid. We hate it when the players don't say anything, and then when he does give you something juicy, are you gonna? I don't want to pick it apart too much, but I would say this: the guy talks to the media every day. You would think he's pretty aware of the effect and the impact of his words.
As Craig Button said, he goes, he didn't just back the bus over his coach. He did it, and then he looked and made sure that he got him the first time he got over. So, hey, listen, there's a lot of pressure on everyone, and I get why people in Edmonton are feeling that way. I get the understanding, what's going on in Vegas right now. No one had the Anaheim Ducks with a 4-point lead and a game in hand right now. It would be kind of crazy. We could see a Ducks-Utah first-round series, 2 teams with almost no playoff experience, and then, the 2 teams that we had sort of expected to be playing in the division final going at it in the first round. And, Gary, I imagine there's a real sense of urgency around the team that you cover on a daily basis, knowing that you got 12 games before the lights are on and it's playoff hockey, and you could be going up against the team that knocked you out.
Well, you got to get a spot first of all, right? You know what I mean? Like, nothing's guaranteed at this point. There are the Golden Knights are, I think they're 5 clear of getting in, any of the like serious trouble of missing the playoffs, because like LA is the next team in the Pacific. There's wild card spots, but like, so long as they're 73, and what is Vegas at right now?
78.
78, so 5 points. Yeah. So you're 5 points clear of not being a playoff team, and with 12 to go, that's, you'd have to really struggle to not get in. So I don't expect that to happen, but I'm sure that priority number 1 is to get in, and then number 2, see if you can't track down Anaheim. They don't play the Ducks again. They play the Oilers twice though.
Hey, listen, just before we go, and I know you got to get down to the skate. Great to have you back on the program, even with your continued glasses shaming of the host of this program. Quick question on the Jets. Our conversations throughout the year, you've actually been quite positive about the Jets, even during some of the times, and thought they were going to make the playoffs. I mean, listen, it's highly unlikely that comes out to be, but when you look at this Jets season, why do you think they are where they are right now? Just any thoughts on, listen, it's been a disappointing season here in Winnipeg.
Well, let me ask you this. Why did they get knocked out last year? Like they won the President's Trophy last year, and then St. Louis almost pushed them out, except for a miracle. And then Dallas easily beat them. How come? Why?
Well, I mean, Dallas is a hell of a good hockey team. I mean, it wasn't like they just ran over them. I mean, there's a bunch of things that can change games. Certainly, Hrabchak in the playoffs was not at the level that he was in winning a Hart Trophy.
Okay, but you're not changing Hrabchak. That's, you know what I mean? The franchise is built around him. There was so my point is Cheveldayoff, couldn't just stand pat. He had to try and tweak the roster. So, and you can't, the guys, Morrissey, Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Adam Lowry, like you're not doing anything with any of those players. So, they added Taves, and I would say that has been an okay experiment. I don't think it's an A+.
I mean, for a 2C, they haven't had a second line center all year. The loss
he's
of
not.
Ehlers,
He's not a 2C. Like whenever anyone said that, I was like, that's, he's at this point to put that weight on him after being out of the game for as long as he was. I don't think that was ever their expectation.
Better question this way. But let me I'll put it to you this way. When you look at this team and who's going to be, who is here, who's going to be here next year, in your opinion, how difficult or how much of a challenge will it be to reverse what has happened this year? Not win a President's Trophy, but be in a very different situation a year from now when they hope to be back in the top 16 and competing for a playoff spot.
Well, this is my hope for them when they were, kind of really scuffling, was like, okay, bottom out, win the lottery. You know what I mean? Look what happened to the Islanders. They won the lottery. They got Schaefer. They transformed their team with one player overnight. So I was like, win the lottery.
Still not out of the question.
Yeah, but Vancouver is going to have the best odds by quite a bit. So
it's more about that top 5 to 7 pick, I mean, like it's kind of where, and that's why people are a little worried right now. I mean, you go on a nice little winning streak at the end of the season, and you go from 5th in the order to 10th, can have a big one. Well, good thing for you guys, despite the division, you don't have to worry about that. I'll tell you what, sign me up for Vegas, Edmonton in the first round. It certainly would be fascinating. The stakes would be very, very high. I still have a feeling that one of those teams will get on a run at the end of the year, and maybe we won't be seeing it in the first round and see it in the second. But anyways, dude, great to see you. You've never looked better than with those glasses on today. Keep up the great work, and we'll chat with you maybe at the rink tonight. Thanks again for doing this.
Chat with me at the rink tonight. You haven't been in the press box in a decade.
Yeah, maybe you come out and see the people for once. I
have television duties.
I have
to work during the intermission. Take a lap. People here don't like me. I'll get mugged.
Don't worry, I'll be with you. I was the good cop to your bad cop for however many years on the radio. We could do it again in person.
That is true. I will say I went to grab a coffee this morning on my way to the rink, and some person who I'd never seen before. Hey, how's Hustler? Are you guys still friends? I said, well, we were never friends. I said, we were on air calling, but then I kind of giggled and I said, I talk to him all the time. Like, at least once every 14 days, Hustler gets the late night call when I'm driving home from a game in Vegas, and I'm like, don't feel like listening to whatever's on the radio, and I want to hear a friendly voice. I dial up Huss, and I usually get him in his office. Third stool from the right at Wind City Pub.
Beat it. Talk to you later. Thanks, man. Good luck the rest of the
All
way.
right, see you, pal.
Princess Auto is a proud sponsor of Winnipeg Sports Talk, in a lot of ways synonymous with Winnipeg. Headquartered here in the Peg, founded here in Winnipeg, and now serving Canadians coast to coast with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So while we wait for the Bombers to kick off, get ready for spring. Those projects on your list with great deals throughout the month waiting for you at your local Princess Auto, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West in the city, out in Brandon. And you can always shop online 24 hours a day at princessauto.com. Our friends at Chud's Power Sports are ready to turn the page from winter into spring, and bike season is right around the corner. Of course, we were there last week, got a chance to see so many of the cool bikes that are available, and the Terminator said that they've got some great new additions to their lineup, including Cove bikes, who make dual-purpose street and adventure off-road bikes. You can find out more information on that at the website at chudspowersports.com. We've also got really cool Suzuki street bikes and dirt bikes. And I was loving the look of the Husqvarna dual-purpose street and adventure bikes. And, of course, dirt bikes. With the price of fuel these days, I think there's going to be a surge in motorcycles this spring. So check out the best of the best right now at Chud's Power Sports, in addition to the boats, RVs, four-wheelers, and everything else to make your summer kick ass. Chud's Power Sports, the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. Check them out online today at chudspowersports.com. Manitoba Battery is your local option for the best prices in batteries for all of your battery needs, whether it's getting your car and truck through the teeth of the Manitoba winter, or as we warm things up and get ready to have some fun, the best in batteries for motorcycles, ATVs, boats, and more. If it needs a battery, Manitoba Battery has it, and Donnie and his amazing staff will not only provide you the best in customer service that you won't see at the big box stores, they'll beat the pants off the big box stores in price. Shop local, save money, and get the best in customer service for all your battery needs at Manitoba Battery. Now with 2 locations in Winnipeg, Logan Avenue and Dovercourt Drive, they'll also save you time and deliver those batteries to you citywide, anywhere inside the perimeter. You can shop online as well at manitobabattery.com today. All right, fun stuff with the lawman. Rewucki's coming up in just a minute. This segment is a presentation of Prairie Toyota dealers. Looking to dominate off the ice as much as your team does on it? Check out the Toyota Tacoma. Its standard I-Force engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an array game, you can tackle it with ease. And the available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag Days from March through May. Brandon Rewucki, Skates and Plates, joins us now. Ru, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's everything over there?
It is good. We're getting through without Reem for a few days. Adam's doing a great job. Connor's been locked in, and we got a game tonight. Just before we get to it, will you be watching the Jets tonight, or at 6:00? Will you be tuned in to LAGC and the Jupiter Lynx, because your guy Tiger Woods is back tonight playing in the TGL after Kiz was so bad last night he just couldn't stand to stay in anymore longer.
I like the Michael Jordan facts that he sent out. What was it, yesterday or today? Just the 2 words we all wanted to hear, Huss. So yes, I am delusionally looking forward to that matchup at 6, as well as then placing a heavy wager on Tiger at Augusta in a couple of weeks' time. So this all sets up very nicely, again, in my very delusional, stupid lizard brain, that Tiger's going to make a run at number 16 It's a big sports day, though. I'm jacked. I'm ready to go. I mean, on a personal level, too, Flyers Blue Jackets, big game out in the East. But mostly looking forward to 7 o'clock tonight to see if...
Yeah, no doubt. Have you watched any of the TGL?
I have, actually. It kind of comes on. I mean, I work from home, so maybe that... I don't know if that's who they market it to on purpose, but I have it on in the background when I'm doing some work. It's
awesome. I have loved it. It is such a great television viewing sport. It's very fun to place a little wager on too. So anyways, it's been fun, and they've done it perfectly. After football season, Monday nights when there's no Monday night football, the odd Tuesday night. So it's finishing up today. But yes, as you mentioned, 7 o'clock tonight. We've got the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. Interesting weekend. A weekend that started off absolutely disastrously for the Jets with those ugly first few shifts, the 2 goals in, and then a pretty big shakeup. And these are the things that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Like, I have to admit, I left that Pittsburgh game, even though they lost in a shootout, not terribly disappointed that the 1 point wasn't made, but mostly excited that, they rejigged the defense, didn't just go back to where they always were. We've got Elias Salmonson staying in the top 4, playing with Samberg, getting some time with Morrissey. Great to see Pionk back in the lineup, either with Morrissey or Samberg as well, moving to Mello. And then maybe the biggest development, putting Isaac Rosén with Morgan Barron and Brad Lambert, getting a real legitimately fast line. And man, I thought we saw a lot out of the young guys, especially Lambert on the weekend. We'll get to tonight's game in a minute, but weekend takeaways in particular about the things that we've been talking about that we wanted to see.
Yeah, now it's really whatever the results are, who cares to a degree, because we're getting what a lot of fans wanted to see, and that's giving legitimate youngsters legitimate opportunities to play a pivotal role at the NHL level. So I'm really excited and intrigued to see how this season ends, because Morgan Barron, going back to, I guess, maybe the second half of last season, he's kind of slowly been on this steady trajectory up and up and up. And he's just gotten better and better the more minutes he's gotten. And so I'm going to be intrigued to see what his ceiling ultimately could be. But I think you really hit it on the head there, where this team is immensely faster now. Like, skill-wise, we could debate that and everything, but they're no longer getting skated out of the building because they have a forward line that can legitimately push the pace with the best of what other NHL teams have to offer. So I think it's been extremely promising. It took, like you said, disaster to finally pull the plug on the quote-unquote veteran experience and give these younger guys a little bit more leash, but it's paid off at both ends, really. They're getting valuable ice time and minutes, and the team's picking up points, whether you like it or not. So I'm intrigued. I think maybe the most promising thing for me, Huss, has been this is, by a country mile, the best we've seen of Brad Lambert at the NHL level. I mean,
there's no question.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. The big thing with him has always been consistency, right? And he can do it in spurts, but I don't even care about points either, like, to a degree. If he plays at that level for the final 12 games, you know what? Maybe he is a legitimate NHLer and can give this team an actual impact next season. He's the guy that I think I'm most intrigued to watch. Rosén coming over at the deadline, like, it's tough. Maybe you push that to next year a little bit. But Lambert's the one guy where it's like, you know what? If he could, even if it's like 6 points in his last 12 games, but he's competitive and he's in the battle, that's a big, big step forward for him, considering the AHL this year hasn't gone extremely swimmingly for him and a lot of the other group.
No, exactly. I mean, I think this audition, if you want to call it, was sort of make or break for Brad Lambert, in that the trajectory had not been one in a positive direction in the American Hockey League really since his brilliant first year. And listen, I get there's merit to, hey, calling up the guys that, deserve it. That's why Danny Zhilkin got the call up a little earlier this year, and we could very well see him again before the end of the year. He scored the Moose's lone goal last night in their loss to the Roadrunners at Canada Life Center. But for Brad Lambert, not only did he come in and show that, he can play, he was doing it more in a fourth line role. Now, that being said, it was with Morgan Barron. I think that the pairing of him with another speedy player is big. But now that we've got him and Rosane, who are both trying to show that they can be options in the top 9, if not top 6, the question on both of these players who can blaze up and down the wings is, can these guys get to the inside? Can they get into the scoring areas with big, strong defensemen in their way? And I actually love the combination with Morgan Barron on this, because when Barron is at his best, he is taking the puck to the net. Like, he's never going to be a brilliant playmaker. This is not going to be a guy that, even if he plays tons, is going to have 50, 55 assists. But to be honest, some of the best opportunities from Morgan Barron for his line mates come when Barron has the puck, when he's taking it to the net with speed to the places that you have to get to score goals in the NHL. And, we've seen more of Brad Lambert try to, as they say, get a little greasier in, because the bottom line is, for these players, like, we know they're fast. We know they've got great skill. But if you want to be effective game after game after game, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in some of these places. And particularly with Lambert over the course of the weekend. And I think part of it was getting a goal and getting a little bit of a good mojo, playing a little bit more. The early returns on this have been really good. And these final 12 games for Lambert, I think, are a glorious opportunity for him to maybe erase some of the doubts that the last couple of years have brought on him, and put him in pole position to go into training camp, not with an outside chance of being on the team, but maybe an expectation that he can take his game to another level and be a regular in a scoring role for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think it's promising in the sense of they do play off each other well. And I especially with Lambert, like, you don't really see, he's not, pulling back on the rush just to do it, right? Like, he's not, I haven't seen a ton of perimeter in his game over the last little bit, which I think is really promising, where it's like, use your speed and be aggressive. And like you said, to get into those areas. And once other teams start to realize that, that's where you can pull back and create a little extra space for yourself. So he's attacking the game the right way right now. And he's not a big dude, but he's at least, willing to get into the somewhat dirty areas and along the boards and compete for puck battles and things like that. So he's been great. But that's where a guy like Morgan Barron can do a lot of the dirty work. And in a way, it's like, hey, you go to the front of the net, big man. You do it first. You take a little bit of the punishment, and we'll be there to pick up whatever's left. And that can be really effective. So for all three of those guys, it's interesting because in one sense, it's a bit of an audition of, hey, if you guys perform great as a line, we have the option to look at that as, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, line 3 next year, or a potential scoring option, maybe a sheltered line, whatever it might be. But it's also an audition. Maybe we try one of the wingers beside Cole Perfetti or beside Gabe Vilardi, where you would like to have a little extra speed injected on the opposite flank of either one of those two players. For Barron, maybe it's an opportunity to shoot your way higher up in the lineup as well. So it's funny. It's you're doing it for the team, obviously, but for selfish reasons, each of these guys have a really, really big opportunity here where they can do this. And, if management has their way about it, they can do this on a team with designs to make a playoff run next year. So that for sure, like, we've seen Salamonson now enough that it's kind of just like, I wonder how high this kid can get to as quickly as he has. But with those three forwards particularly, we don't really know what they're going to do next year. And we don't know as well with as much certainty what their floor or ceiling is at the NHL level. So very fascinated, especially over these next few where, Vegas has disappointed in terms of its win total, but they play a really heavy physical playoff style of game. And then you've got the back-to-back with Colorado coming up. Columbus plays really physical as well. Like, let's see how they do against some of the bigger, physical, more playoff-ready teams. And if they can surpass expectations once again against those four, it might just be time to get excited about that.
Well, I mean, listen, I think that's exactly what we want to see, and that's what this team needs right now. I mean, if you're playing out the stretch, and like we'll see what happens with this week, but like I was on with the Illegal Curve guys on Saturday morning heading into the Pittsburgh game, and I said, listen, I understand they're going to roll out these lines, and this is what they're going to be doing. I mean, and that was kind of before we saw that change, but we want to see that at some point before the end of the year. And I guess if this is, and again, this is going back to the original setup that they had going into the weekend before everything went south early in the first period. If we repeated this conversation next Saturday after the Vegas and the Colorado game and this weekend, I have a feeling we'll be talking about those things. The fact that we get to see them against Vegas and in Colorado, hopefully, I think is a really good thing. And going down the stretch, it's important to have some young, hungry guys with something to prove, because the last thing you want to see is a team that's disappointed for the entire year, playing out the stretch with no real. And this is part of the reason why. And again, I'm sure we'll see this at some point, but I mean, we've seen all we need to see of Gus Nyquist. I mean, I think there's the possibility of bringing in, whether it's Walker Dewar, whether it's Jilkin that comes up and plays a little bit more. I mean, even giving a few more of the vets, a night off to get a few of these guys. Now, until you got the E beside your name and you're out, that's probably not happening, but that could be the case next week. But for the guys that are here right now, Salamonson, who continues to shine, and Lambert and Rosane, like this week, you want to take a big step forward and show that you're ready to go and should be at the top of that list for guys challenging to take the spots of the changes that need to be made. You couldn't set up a better schedule this week for these young guys to have the opportunity to be challenged and show that they can do it.
Yeah, well, and nobody wants to grab a playoff spot in the second wild card in the West. So, you could do the two birds with one stone here, like play extremely well, and then unwillingly you find yourself in the midst of an actual playoff push, depending on what happens with some of those other teams. So, like, there's that part of it too. I mean, the one thing I would say is, in a funny way, the one line that I think is probably set in stone the rest of the year, outside of maybe a benching, is like you want to have Taves, Nyquist, and Koepke together as a trio, as the fourth line, because to varying degrees, they're going to be either in that spot next year, or you're going to find somebody else to fill that role. The other 9 forwards you have, there's a lot of opportunities to mix and match and find different combinations that either work or don't work. So it's a really, really interesting couple of games the Jets find themselves in. And, just talking about the back end quickly, it looks like Morrissey, Pionk are going to get the call as the top pair to start tonight's game. But we've seen Scott Arniel at least pull the trigger a little bit in getting Salamonson up there with Josh. And you just wonder if that becomes something that's a little more common as we head into the next couple of games, although him continuing his strong play with Sandberg is a pretty good plan B for Salamonson at this point.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it really doesn't matter to me. It was, and again, I don't not want to sound like I'm piling on Dylan DeMello, but I think we've all seen that, this team could really use a boost, and Josh Morrissey could use a boost on his side. I mean, for everything that DeMello's brought to the table, he has, in my opinion, far exceeded anyone's expectations of being able to play there as long as he did. And let's give credit where credit is due. It was a hell of a hockey team last year. Morrissey was up there with Norris consideration, and he was his partner in the entire season. But where this team is at right now, where they need to go, you need to see those other options. And the best thing, and the thing that this organization needs the most, is internal players coming from the system, their draft picks graduating and showing that they're ready for prime time. And listen, Elias Salmonson, really since the first game that he played, it was very quiet for the first 10 games or so. He was making sure he was handling his business defensively and never looked out of place. But Brandon, game by game, we're seeing more confidence of him. He's very good with getting the puck on the net. He has been either directly or indirectly the cause of a number of good scoring chances and goals right now. And there's simply nothing that this young man has done that has told anyone that he's not ready for more ice time, for more opportunity. And that bodes so well for this team with a lot of things to take care of in the offseason. That guy on the right side, not one of them, at least from the early returns.
Yeah, and that's why it's such an intrigue for me to see him get potentially 3 or 4 games beside Morrissey. Because as good as Neil Pionk has been for the Jets, I just don't know if you can go through multiple playoff series with Morrissey and Pionk as your top pair, just due to how little success really we see undersized pairings, not named Makar and Taves, handle the best that the opposition has to offer. Like I don't, as great as Morrissey is and as good as Pionk has been, I just don't know if that's a recipe for success. But we know Pionk and Sandberg can play well together. And like you said there, if Salamonson can fill that role, you could put all your chips in to a second line center or an impact forward, and you feel really good about the group that you've built. So it's I don't, again, it's not a bad thing seeing him play 20 plus minutes a night with Dylan Sandberg. It's all positive, but there is also a part of me that's like, don't miss this opportunity here. Like, you have a chance to get a preview into what could potentially be your top pair next year. And like you said, it doesn't cost you anything to do that. So take advantage of it while you can, and the opportunity is available for you. So we'll see, but I do agree with you that, again, it's like, we see some people, some analysts say like second pair is maybe the ceiling for this kid. I don't know. The more and more opportunities, responsibilities, everything gets thrown at his plate. He's like a sponge. He's like an amoeba. Like he's continuously evolving at a fast pace. So I just want to see what he can do, because I think the kid can handle it.
You know, it was funny hearing Mike kind of press Arnie at the end of the game on the goaltending plan for this week. Listen, I'm not one. I said it earlier on the show today, but I mean, when we're talking about the options, and I know Eric Comrie has done so well in recent starts, you'll have a real tough time convincing me that with normal rest, the Jets don't have a better chance to win with Connor Hrabchak, and that's why I would start him, and he would be the guy. I mean, if you have any chance of getting to the playoffs, he's got to catch on fire, as does the team, and you got to run off 6, 7, 8 in a row. But I will give a hat tip to Comrie for the way that he's bounced back from, those 11, 12 starts when Helly was out and things with the team really started going south. And there were some games where he wasn't up to where he'd be. He's showing that he is a really proven, reliable backup goaltender in the NHL. And man, has he been good over the course of the last month and a half, when he hasn't had a ton of starts, but when he's been in, he's been money.
Yeah, white cage. That's all it took. And away we go. Right? I mean, it's pretty wild. I think back to the game in Toronto. It feels like a lifetime ago, because the Leafs are in the playoff mix. The Jets are in the play. Like, just a different planet that we live on. But, I mean, it was a nightmare scenario. Like, fighting the puck, giving the puck over on, I think it was either the game winning or the game tying goal. He was just bad in that game. And it wasn't like it was a great season for him at that point. And that was the absolute bottom. And since then, he's just been lights out. Like, he's kind of saved their, if you want them to be in the playoff mix, he's saved their season in that regard. I mean, to me, he's got to get one of the 2 Colorado games here. Whichever one doesn't really matter to me all that much. I would be kind of tempted to put him in the game against Vegas, because goaltending is just one of those funny things where some of these guys, they're feeling good, they get on a bit of a run, and goofy stuff happens. I agree, though, that yes, Hellebuck gives you the best chance to win over Eric Comrie. No one's saying that, but just sometimes it's just a weird position where, maybe he goes in and stops 29 of 30. And then he goes in the next night and kind of keeps this baby going. And then Hellebuck's almost like your off-speed pitch. I mean, we'll see. I do think he's earned more starts, though, that even though Hellebuck does give you a better chance to win, like they're both playing well right now. It's not a slight to anybody if Eric Comrie starts 4 of the last 12 games or 5, whatever it might end up being. He's just earned it. He's earned a bit more playing time here, and you get the sense that they have a good chance with ever who's between the pipes. So I don't anticipate Comrie getting the start against Vegas, but at the very least, he's got to get one of these two against Colorado coming up in the next few days.
Hey, before we go, you mentioned Philly, and I'm like, you're actually talking about Philly in the playoffs? And it's funny, they rattled off those 3 wins in a row on the West Coast, and they are still within striking distance. I mean, I think it's a real long shot. They're in a very similar position the Jets are in. They're 5 back. There's some other teams there. But just thoughts on the East race right now. I mean, if you had to handicap, or you have to think who, like in this game of musical chairs, when the music stops, who's got a tea time and not a chair?
Well, you know what's funny, Huss? I don't know if they're going to get in or not. I think if Columbus and Ottawa get in, I'm picking them to win whoever they face in round 1. Columbus, we know the Bone story. It's an amazing story. But you watch them play; you could swap out their jerseys for the Florida Panthers, and I don't think you would notice a whole bunch of difference. Like they're playing like a legitimate wagon right now, and the Sens have been great all year. They needed 900 goaltending. Like that was basically their whole thing was we just need like literally anybody to. I think it was Sanderson on the Sens who was basically just like, we just need a save. Like he just couldn't hold it in anymore. Yeah. But it was like, he's right, because they're getting just the bare minimum of goaltending, and they've gone on a bit of a run here. So I think those are the 2 best teams in the mix. I just don't know what to make with Ottawa, because at any point the floor could drop out for them, and whoever's in net is putting up a 760, and they find a way to crash out. But I feel really, really good about Columbus. We'll see. We'll see what their path is if and when they do get in. But I might look at them as a bit of a dark horse team to go really, really deep. But I'll go Columbus and Ottawa, and I think the Red Wings drop out, which is tough because they're, I think, the only team that gave up a first round pick, and it's unprotected. So for them to continue the drought and lose what looks to be a decent selection would be pretty rough for them. But I just don't have a great feeling about them. The Islanders are a ton of fun. I think maybe Sorokin does enough with how well he's playing at pretty much an MVP level. And then the Schaefer magic that Columbus and the Islanders grab 3rd and then one of the wild card spots. I'll say the Flyers do the typical Flyers, which is good, but just not good enough. And
get this.
15 sounds nice.
You mentioned Ottawa, Detroit. They're playing tonight in Motown. Listen to what's left of the Ottawa defense. Top pair for tonight's game. Artem Zub, the only regular in the lineup. Zub is going to be playing with Tyler Klevin. Their second pair, Jordan Spence, Nicholas Matinpalo. Carter Yakimchuk is going to make his NHL debut, I believe, with Matthew Andonovski. If Ottawa can win this game tonight with that blue line and the goaltending, which has been better as of late, this is time for Ullmark and those guys. And actually, I think it might be Reimer to step up and have a massive, massive game. I think this is the game. Like if Ottawa finds a way to win, there's going to be another Canadian team in the playoffs right now because, they can score, they can skate, they can do everything. They just haven't been able to get saves. But now, no Batherson, no Sanderson, no Jensen, Gilbert, Shabbat, Lasker Thompson, all out. I mean, it's essentially, imagine, the Jets with Dylan Sandberg and then a bunch of guys from the American League. I mean, that's the situation they're in tonight.
Does it remind you of the Jay Harrison, Paul Postma second pair days when the Jets made their playoff push that one year? I think it was Buff Sherratt and then Harrison Postma, because literally the rest of the defense was all injured. And they found a way to stay. Now, obviously, Ottawa doesn't have a Bufflin in the lineup right now to mitigate some of the injuries there. But they play really good team defense. And sometimes you get into those weird situations where like you're down so many guys that it galvanizes the group, where it's like we know we all have to be razor sharp here. And sometimes they can find a way to push through. Might not be able to do that for 8 straight games, but like you said, for one night against a Red Wings team that's slumping, they had a heartbreaker against the Bruins on Saturday night. I caught that game. I don't know. I'll stick with Ottawa. I'll stick with Ottawa and Columbus finding a way to push through.
I'm definitely with you on Bones. And yeah, listen, what Bones has done is basically Berube in the 2019 Blues. Now, there's still a lot of ways to go from there. But, I mean, basically, midseason coaching change, took a team last place, and now look at where they are. Hey, listen, great stuff as always, Brandon. Enjoy the games tonight. And Tiger back on the TGL at 6. Don't forget about that.
Won't forget. I'll be watching. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right, the Coolbet boys are ready to go. We're going to get ready for baseball season, which, if you can believe it, begins tomorrow. That is next right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. WST would like to thank our friends at Cleanline Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk throughout the Jet season. When we're doing the Winnipeg Jet lines, we do it with the gang at Cleanline, who are the leaders in Winnipeg residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services. Your one-stop shop with over 40 years of experience. And like the captain, Adam Lowry has the back of his teammates, Cleanline has yours with 24/7 emergency services. So when you're in a jam at any time of the day, Cleanline has you covered. 204-500-2001 is the number. Write that one down, 204-500-2001 for 24/7 emergency services from the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. You can find out more online at cleanline.ca. Well, it's time to get ready for spring with our friends at Royal Sports, Winnipeg's sports superstore, family-owned and operated for over 50 years. And as we get the snow out of here, it is time to get back on the pitch. Royal is the soccer headquarters in town with more boots than you've ever seen. Not to mention great soccer merch from teams and nations around the world. Of course, we got baseball and slow pitch season coming up. They'll get you ready with gloves, bats, everything you need to dominate on it. Of course, they've still got hockey gear, snowboarding gear for those of you making the trip out for spring break, and the best selection of licensed merchandise for fans of the NHL, National Football League, NBA, and of course, Major League Baseball with Blue Jays season just around the corner. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. You got to see it to believe it. Get down there today and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. We still do have plenty of games to get to for the Winnipeg Jets season, and with many on the road, no better place to get together with your gang to watch the squad than your local Boston Pizza. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and of course, Winnipeg Jets pick a player contest where you can win great prizes from BP every time the Winnipeg Jets score. So for the next game or the big game on the TV, head on down to Boston Pizza at your local BP location. Buckle up. And of course, if you are staying at home, you can get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, much more to come on WST. But first, a big shout out to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right. It is time to, we're going to queue up a little impromptu WST winners segment on WST because the Coolbet boys are both here and Major League Baseball gets going tomorrow. We got to wait till the Jays home opener on Friday, but let's get to it. Baseball is back. Pat Gregoire, Jake Bolin-Moss join me. Fellas, are you ready? I can imagine, especially in the GTA, considering the plight of the Leafs, people cannot wait for Friday night to get there soon enough. What's up?
Listen, Huss, I tell you, and just was hanging out with Jake. We had a cool bet lunch meeting, and it kind of creeped up on us that the home opener is Friday. I'm shocked. There really isn't as much buzz as you would expect around the city. And that kind of happens with the Blue Jays, like maybe a couple days before when we see them return to Toronto. That's when it really starts to ramp up. Like there's no doubt there's hype around the season. There's hype around the Blue Jays and the run that was last year. But I'll be honest, maybe it's just me and Jake being wrapped up with March Madness, but it certainly is really creeping up on us here. But I think come tomorrow, come Thursday, the city is going to be completely abuzz of the Blue Jays, and for good reason. What a generational run that we had to the World Series, Game 7. I think people are really excited for this season.
Jake, hopefully for the Jays. I mean, it's like the Royals in 2014. You go all the way to the end. You get plugged by Madison Bumgarner. In this case, it was Yamamoto. And then you come back and get it all done the next year. I know you're not living and breathing with every moment of Leafs hockey as you normally are, but how was the vibe check for the one of 162 on the weekend?
Yeah, listen, I'm excited. I think there's a lot to look forward to this year with this team. I know Bo Bichette's no longer here. He ended up signing with the Mets, and they didn't get the big free agency signing in Kyle Tucker, but they made some really nice moves in the offseason. The pitching depth, especially the starting pitching, is going to be interesting how they manage that. Obviously they got a couple guys in the shelf early in the season, so good they added a few more arms for that starting rotation, including a guy like Eric Lauer, bringing Max Scherzer back in the last, couple weeks here. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm excited for Blue Jays baseball, probably as excited as I've been in a long time. Last year, we didn't really have a lot of expectations, and that's what made it so much more fun when they went on that run. And, go ahead, Patty. What do you got?
Go ahead. No, you finish. I was just going to say. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say last year, the expectations weren't very high. So for them to go on that run and win the division obviously was really exciting. This year, I think expectations are a little higher. I don't know if that's going to be a positive or negative, by the time we kind of hit that halfway point, all-star game point of the season.
I don't want to just say that the hype for you, Jake. And it was absolutely low for myself as well. I'll be fully transparent, but not was it only low for you, Jake. I think we were borderline ready for you opting out on the season. I think after all the fiasco with the contracts with Bo Bichette and with Vladdy, I believe on this program even, and maybe some folks in the chat can remember, you were borderline talking to us about, listen, I might opt out of this year. This team, my teams, yada yada, and then opening night happens, and then
Yankees
you're
fan.
all in, and then July 1st happens, and that Canada game I think was when everyone bought in and was like, oh, okay, this team is really good. I know you went to a bunch of games though before that, Jake, but I think the turning point on the season was July. I think everyone's going to be completely bought in from this fan base from the get-go. I mean, if you go on Ticketmaster or any of the secondary markets, I mean, good luck trying to find some tickets. Good luck trying not to blow the budget. The days of, logging on whatever app you use to get tickets for, $20, those are gone, man. The Blue Jay hype is real. And I think it's because of that run. But I mean, let's be serious. The futility of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the disdain that a lot of people have for the hockey club is only ramping up. I think the anticipation for, let's be honest, one of the most likable Canadian teams of all time. I would say Toronto, but maybe one of the most likable Canadian teams of all time.
Oh, the Blue Jays. I mean, like this is it was pretty clear with the way they were supported through the playoffs that they made a lot of new fans. And let's get on with the season. So listen, we're going to start actually with the Jays, and then we'll go to some of our favorite picks on some of the other markets. If you go to CoolBet right now and you click on MLB, go to futures, World Series odds, pennant odds, division, MVP, Cy Young, make the playoffs, win totals, league leaders, and awards. And I will give myself the Barry Horowitz pat on the back for being the one guy that had the Jays over last year. It cashed nice and early. I think it was 78.5. They won 94 games. But I will start it off with, guys, I'm taking the Jays over again. 88.5 is the number. I think this team wins 90 games. And to be honest, when we're looking at the division, now again, this is maybe a little bit more homer, but I mean, the Yankees at plus 150 and the Jays at plus 275 to me is insulting to the Jays. I know these two teams both finished with 94 wins last year, but the Yankees did not have like a great offseason. I think the Jays really did. I think the Jays should be the favorite in this division, especially with the experience that they got last year and what they did in the offseason. So I'm on the over the wins, and I've got the Jays to win the AL East. Pat, are you over or under on the wins, and what do you think about the division?
Oh man, I'm completely bought in, and again, I kind of talked about how swept up I was, and Jake is maybe giving us a dose of reality. No Bo, maybe not the best offseason, but I still think the bullpen is much improved. I love the rotation. We could have a potential star coming in with Kaz. Like I think this team can pick up where they left off last. And keep in mind, fans, if things start out slow, baseball is a very long season. But when you look at this division, I don't understand how the Blue Jays aren't the betting favorites, to be quite honest. And I don't know how it's the Yankees who are sitting atop. And maybe it's just because it's the pinstriped, it's the Bronx Bombers, it's Aaron Judge. But I think that everyone in the division got better. I think the Orioles are going to be a lot better. I think the Red Sox are going to be much improved to what we saw last year. The Rays are the Rays. They always seem to overachieve regardless of what they do. But I didn't really love what the Yankees did in the offseason, if really doing much at all. So I like this Jays team at just, even if they were the outright favorites, Huss, I would bet them at the Yankees number. The fact that we're getting it at 275, I like it even more. It might be a homer play. I might have my Blue Jays colored goggles on here, but I just don't really understand the betting odds, if we're being quite frank.
After last year, I mean, listen, the Yankees are the Yankees, and they'll always get tons of respect, and maybe some people think it's a fluke. But Jake, are you with us on the over? And do you think they can win the division? And certainly, would you bet it at plus 275?
Yeah, I would definitely bet. I think it's great value in the division bet for the Blue Jays. I'm actually quite shocked, Hassan. I think you already said it. Like the fact that the Yankees are that much more of a favorite, that much better odds over the Blue Jays is shocking to me. I think the Red Sox definitely got better. I think, like Pat mentioned, the Orioles got better. The Yankees kind of just stayed the same. Re-signed a lot of guys. They lost, Devin Williams. They lost a couple other pitchers in the offseason. So, not overly awesome offseason from the Yankees. Yes, there's always trade possibilities with them, but they're not like the big spending. Like if you look at who spends the most money, I know the Yankees are up there with some of their big boys, but like the Dodgers, the Mets, like these teams really go out and spend the money. Even the Blue Jays spend a ton of money in the free agency this year. And New York Yankees really didn't do it like they've done in the past. So I think they're getting way too much love from the odds makers. I love the Jays at plus 275. I mean, you look at what's happened this spring training, and you can't devolve too much into the numbers from spring training. You see what Dalton Varsho did this spring training? 380 average with 5 home runs and 14 RBIs. Like, if you're getting that kind of production from the middle of the lineup guy like Varsho, Kaz, I think, really impressed not only with the bat, but in the field. I was really surprised with his third base defense. I think this is going to be one of the best defenses in baseball once again this season. And one of their ultimate strengths in the last couple of years has been the defense. They get the bats going like they had in the playoffs. Like, this team could be a 100-win team, no problem. I know it's a tough division, but you don't play as many divisional games as you used to either. You have to keep that in mind. Like, you kind of play everyone now when it comes to the MLB. So you're not playing the Yankees and the Red Sox like 20 times like they used to play in the past. You're going to get a lot of games against, across the league teams. And you just got to take advantage when you do get those divisional games, win a lot of those divisional series, which the Jays did a good job at doing last year, and be in a great spot to win the division again. So a plus 275, I love the value. I think I'll probably play that with you guys.
All right. We wanted to kind of take some time focusing on the Jays right off the bat. I think we're all pretty optimistic about this upcoming season. Over 88.5 wins is the total. And if you want them to win the AL East, it's plus 275. All right. Let's rattle through a bunch of these other picks. We'll start it off with the other division winners. I can just tell you that the favorites, Yankees plus 150 in the AL East, Tigers plus 115 in the Central, the Dodgers minus 667 in the NL West, Cubs plus 125 in the NL Central, Mets plus 165 in the NL East, and the Mariners plus 140 in the AL West. I mean, I'm not really looking for the chalk here, looking for a couple great plays. This won't surprise you, but I'll be talking about this team a couple of times. I think the Kansas City Royals are ready to take that next step. They were maybe ahead of schedule last year. You get that extra experience, postseason, all of that. They're led by Bobby Witt, who I think I'm going to tab for the MVP. I was 1 year early last year. But you look at what they did in the World Baseball Classic. Pasquatch, Michael Garcia, Caglione, and then a really exciting young catcher that's going to be coming in and playing probably a little bit more as Salvi gets more time DHing. Royals at plus 230, I think, are great value, especially with the Guardians trading away so many players at the deadline and doing nothing in the offseason to improve. To me, it's a two-horse race between Detroit and the Kansas City Royals. Detroit is on the down a little bit. Scoobles likely last year in Detroit, and Kansas City on the up with all of these young studs. So give me the Royals. And the other one that I'll play is in the NL East. I'm not a believer in the Mets. I just feel like no matter what they do, things will end up going the Met way. And the Braves, now with Profar out for the entire season, they were so far off of 500 last year. I think it's a big way to come back. So I think the Phillies are a nice buy at 2-1 with Schwarber back in Philadelphia. But definitely Royals in the AL Central at plus 230, my favorite. The other one plus 200 on Phillies. Do you have a division pick or two outside the AL East, Pat, before we get it to Jake?
No, because I'm 100% with you with the Royals, and the Royals will hop up on my card quite a bit. Plus 230 for them to win the division. I'll have another pick or a couple picks on them, or maybe players on that team. I totally agree. I won't spend too much more time on that. I know you said you don't like the chalk, but sometimes you gotta just take the best bet if it's available on the board. And I think the Cubs at plus 125 is a great bet here. I think that this team, I don't want to say underperformed, but maybe a disappointing finish to what was supposed to be a promising season for them. But this is more of a fade of the rest of the division. Sure, you have Skeens on the Pirates, but it's the Pirates. The Cards are a mess. I don't really have a ton of faith in the Reds, but the Brewers, yes, I get it. They were the darlings of last year. But what the heck are the chances that they are going to be able to run that back? And near the end of the season, into the playoffs, I think the glass slipper fell off their foot. So I like the Cubs to run it back at plus 125. Again, a little bit too juicy, but to me, I just think they are far and away the best team in this division.
Jake, anything else other than Jays?
Yeah, I don't know how you don't play someone from the NL West. I'm a big fan of the San Diego Padres. Listen, I know the Dodgers are there. I know they're going to be awesome. But listen, what the Dodgers have found in previous years is they don't need to win the division to win the World Series. They know that. They know it's just about getting healthy for October and being ready to go for playoff baseball. We've seen it in the past years. Even last year, like people were talking like, oh, the Dodgers have it. And the minute the postseason turned, they were all ready to go, geared up. They beat a lot of teams. Obviously, the Jays took them as close as you could take them to defeat. Couldn't get it done. 10-1 is a crazy number for a division winner. And anything can happen in baseball. Injuries, like whatever it is. I like the Padres. I think they have a great lineup. Pitching, I think, will be suspect with them. But 10-1 is just too good a value. I like what you guys are thinking with the Royals. I think there's definitely some value there. Although I do like the Tigers. I think they have some great numbers. When we're going to get to some of the other futures here, I think there's some good value on the Detroit Tigers. They still do have Skubal. That's kind of an automatic win every 5 days. They picked up Framber Valdez this year. What are they going to squeeze out of Justin Verlander at the end of his career? I guess we'll see. And the Reds, I don't mind the Reds. I know Patty just took the Cubs there out of the NL Central, but the Reds are a team that's up and coming. A lot of young talent there. Maybe it's just a flyer on the Reds. I don't necessarily see them running away with the Central, but if they're in the race late in the season at plus 350, I think that's a pretty good number as well. So, I think we've covered almost all the divisions you could cover. Not a lot of talk about the AL West. Are we just all in the Mariners world here, Huss? Where are you kind of sitting?
I like the
there?
Mariners at plus 140. I don't have.
Yeah.
I guess I could cap. And you know what? Texas made a couple of offseason moves, but I just think that, that Mariner team, they're still relatively young. I've got a player we're going to be talking about for one of the awards in a minute that I do like. So, I could live, and I wouldn't mind even putting together something like a Mariners Cubs, both to win their division, kind of a two-banger. If we don't want to put the Royals on it, but that's something that we can kind of do afterwards. As far as make the playoffs odds, Royals at plus 160, I'm all over that. I was looking at, and again, maybe I focus so much on the AL East, and maybe it's the hate of the Yankees and Red Sox that plays into this, but I don't mind Baltimore at even money to be a playoff team. They had everything that could possibly go wrong last year for that team went that way. They've still got so many young studs, and I do think they come back. I could see them making it. And at the same point, if they're going to do it, someone's got to get out. Red Sox to miss at plus 150 is also something that I can get behind. But if you don't like the plus 230 on the AL Central number for Kansas City, jump on the playoffs at plus 160. Definitely my favorite one. You guys got any playoff odds before we get to the MVPs and Cy Youngs?
I've got two. I'm with you on the Royals again. Like, they're going to be such a fun. They were so much fun last year, Huss.
Totally.
Like, near the end of the year, I know on this program we made a lot of money on the Royals and Vinny Pasquanito, like him, coming off the World Baseball Classic with Team Italy. We saw how electric he was. You already mentioned Bobby Witt. They get Mikael Garcia in that lineup as well. Also, Kauffman Stadium, I didn't realize this until a little bit earlier this week. They've moved the walls in a little bit closer. I think that's a huge advantage for the bats that they have in their lineup. I think they're going to rake in that ballpark. So I absolutely love them to make the playoffs. And you mentioned the Mets a little bit earlier, and maybe, again, this is just me loving the chaos and loving, I can't really see myself with the Yankees missing. But I could see Frank the Tank having a meltdown coming down the stretch and this team missing the playoffs after all the hype and the moves and everything. Plus 195, almost getting at plus 200. And it's going to be a fun bet because it doesn't matter how good the Mets are. It's going to be you're going to get the highs of the highs. They'll probably have a 10 to 15 game winning streak at some point, and then they're going to probably have a 10 or 15 game losing streak. So that's more of a fun bet for me. It's a tradition unlike any other, watching Frank the Tank start to melt down about his playoff team. When they're really only 3 games out of it, but he's acting like, they're only going to win 25 games this season.
100%. Jake, playoff?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it quick. I mean, I talked about the Reds. I think that number's nice at plus 150. A young team, was there last year. I think they ended up playing the Dodgers in the wild card round, if I remember correctly. So yeah, the Reds I don't mind at plus 150. And then the other one I was looking at was maybe Brewers to miss plus 150. I just think that division, like we talked about the Cubs, I think they will be good. I think the Reds, take another step there. And listen, I don't think the Pirates are going to necessarily be a playoff team, but I think they'll be a lot more serviceable this year than they were in years past. Obviously, they got a guy in Skeens pitching every fifth day. That is, basically an automatic win if they can put up a few runs. This Bubba Chandler they have, another great pitching prospect. And then, they got some great young prospects. Connor Griffin, I think he's the number one prospect in baseball. He should be on the roster this year for the Pirates. So, it could be one of those years with the Pirates where, kind of like we saw with the A's last year where, they have a lot of good young talent. They're going to win some games. They're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but you're going to be like, wow, the Pirates, weren't the bottom feeder that they were a year ago. This young talent starting to come around. I don't know if that they would go and necessarily pick anyone up, but I think they'll be a fun team to watch. So I think with that division being as good as it is, I could see the Brewers maybe falling off from how good they were a season ago. I wouldn't be surprised if they saw, a bit of a tank and then fall out of the playoffs plus 150.
Don't mind that. All right. Now we've got MVP odds up. We've got Cy Young awards. Then we've got Rookie of the Year and maybe our favorite long shot bet. So why don't we do this? Let's throw out our favorite MVP and our Cy Young awards. And then we'll hit the Rookie of the Year and the long shot, which, kind of looking for 20 to 1 or more anywhere else. I was mentioning this before. Bobby Witt is a superstar right now. He is the baseball Patrick Mahomes of Kansas City. Aaron Judge is the favorite at 2 to 1. Bobby Witt is 5 to 1. And it speaks to, I think, a lot that Cal Raleigh is 9 to 1 for this after arguably being the MVP last year. And then you add in the ballpark changes. The ballpark changes for Bobby Witt. I mean, they're expecting 50, 55 more home runs to be hit this year. Some of them will be off his bat. It's going to add the offense. He's an everyday shortstop, brilliant defensively. He has it all. If he has the season I think he's going to have, as the Royals do, I think he wins the MVP. He is at 5 to 1 for the AL. So that's my favorite AL bet. Ohtani, it's hard to go against him in the NL, so I didn't even go there. Minus 135. Just injuries and stuff. I don't think it's a great bet to make, but I'd be surprised if Ohtani wasn't the MVP as well. As far as Cy Young goes, listen, Paul Skeens is the man. He is so. If he plays the entire season, I know Yamamoto we're all high on because of what he did in the playoffs last year, but they're going to rest him if they need to. They'll get to the playoffs. They've got tons of great pitchers. Skeens is going to have a great record and great numbers on one of the worst teams in the league. I think he wins it. I don't mind if you want a bit more of a long shot, not quite at our number, but Brian Wu from the Mariners, if he can stay healthy, his control, listen, he is an absolute stud. Loved what he was able to do in the playoffs last year. I kind of expected him to be more down near the DeGrom and Ragans. So I got a little piece of him at 18 to 1. But Paul Skeens for the Cy Young, Bobby Witt for the MVP are my favorite bets, kind of higher up the board. Pat, what about you for MVP and Cy Young?
Well, I've already have some homer picks here, and everyone's probably, hey, Pat, I thought you didn't bet your team. The only exception that I have is futures and props. I've been on the record before. I will do that. So I'm going to continue that theme with a couple of picks here. I love what you're saying about Bobby Witt. I think that's a great pick. I might have to ride with that one. But Vladdy at 15 to 1, I think is really, really good value, just considering, again, last year, let's be honest, fellas, wasn't the best season. for Vladdy. It came down the stretch. It came in the playoffs. And I think that playoff run has completely motivated Vladdy to be a winner, to be the best in the game at what he does, and that's mashing dingers and playing great defense at first base. So I think Vladdy at 15-1, you're getting an incredible number here. So I'll take that. For NL MVP, totally agree with you, Huss. I don't think there's really a point to go up against Shohei Ohtani. So I'm going to probably stay away from that. For Cy Young, I'll go again. I'm like all Jays and Royals here. Cole Reagan's 12-1. I think he's a guy that when you look at Skubal, Crochet, DeGrom, like these guys, I think he's right there. And I think Skubal obviously is the biggest dog at that. Was it plus 250 and Crochet's at plus 350? I think Reagan should be closer to like plus 800. So I really like him on there. And Skeens, I know I just said it on the flip side when it comes to MVP voting, but we also know these writers kind of like to make things about themselves. And when it comes to baseball, and they get fatigue and bored, and I kind of think that like the Paul Skeens fatigue might actually happen this year. Not saying he's not going to have a great year, but Yamamoto at plus 550, I think those two guys should be closer to what we're seeing in the AL with Skubal and Crochet. So I'll take Yamamoto at plus 550. I think you're getting a pretty good number there as well.
Jake, fire away, MVP and Cy.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go a little bit different than you guys just so we can hear some different names. I do love the Bobby Witt, Huss, because like Patty just mentioned, voter fatigue I think is real. I think at some point Aaron Judge isn't going to win an AL MVP, and it's like, well, who's next guy up? Bobby Witt's been there kind of this whole time over the last couple of years here. So 5-1, I don't mind that. I look at a guy like Gunnar Henderson. If the Orioles are going to take this bigger step, is it going to be behind a Gunnar Henderson playing shortstop for Baltimore? Is it going to be behind a Pete Alonso? 25-1, a little further down now that he's with Baltimore. Somewhere you could look there. I mean, I do love the Vladdy, Pat. I don't know how you don't get a piece of Vladdy, but I don't know. Sometimes it's like you could tell when Vladdy kind of flipped that switch late last season and he started swinging the bat with a little bit more purpose. And it's like, is there going to be parts of the season where he gets a little like bored or whatever? I could see it happening, but I mean, Vladdy is absolutely an MVP caliber player. He proved it last year. He proved it at the World Baseball Classic. Just really impressive stuff. NL MVP, I think you guys laid it out pretty good. I mean, Shohei Ohtani at minus 135 before the season's even begun is crazy to me, but it makes sense. Like, when you have a guy like that, how do you not take him, especially if he's going to pitch and hit? Going to the Cy Young, I love Garrett Crochet, but the value's not great at plus 350. We haven't talked a ton about him, but Huss, you texted us about him. Dylan Cease with Pete Walker at the helm, kind of leading this guy. Like, can he turn Dylan Cease into a Cy Young pitcher? You look at Robbie Ray in past year with Pete Walker onto the Blue Jays winning a Cy Young. Like, he has that ability to bring out the best in these guys. If Dylan Cease plays a full season, he's playing every fifth day and starting. I think he's absolutely – that might be the best number you get Dylan Cease at all year. That could come back to haunt me. I think 25-1 is a great number there. I mentioned the Reds. Sorry, Huss, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, the Cease, I didn't see him on the list, and it went all the way to 100-1, and I'm like, oh my God, if we could get him. Like, he is he's a guy that traditionally has had a strong year and then sort of an off year. So, I mean, it tees up for a big bounce back year. You talk about Pete Walker, and as I say, that might foreshadow a little bit of the long shot pick that we've got coming up in a minute. By the way, everyone in chat, hang tight. I know we're up against it, but I will announce the winner of those tickets coming up in just a minute, but we got to get through. Do you have any other size, or are you good on that, Jake?
I was just going to say, I mentioned the Reds. I don't mind Hunter Green 10-1 in the NL. I know it's kind of one of those things where it's probably Skeens to lose, but you never know what can happen. These guys get hurt all the time. You kind of want to try to grab someone from the middle, especially with Cy Young. I think if you happen to grab the right guy, you could be in a great spot near the end of the season. So I'm going to take Hunter Green 10-1 on my Cy Young.
Before we switch, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying Hunter Green was my long shot last year, 50-1. Had a real good season, just wasn't enough to win it. Okay, sorry, Pat, what were you going to say?
Yeah, did we want to hit, because you mentioned rookie of the year, do we want to hit that before we go to the long shots or?
Yeah, we're going to do that. We'll just kind of do it together just because the rookie is difficult. I mean, I'm looking at, listen, the guy that I want to bet, I have a soft spot. I love the Japanese guys. I'm so pumped that Okamoto signed with the Blue Jays. He's the favorite to win the rookie of the year in the AL, but he's going to be given every opportunity to do so. Playing every day with Vladdy in the lineup. He hit 30 again last year. His contact was a lot better as he finished up his career in Japan. So I don't know. I was a little surprised the number was as low as it was, but I'm in on Okamoto. And I mentioned this Carter Jensen earlier, catcher for the Royals. I think he'll get a lot of time behind the plate this year as they look to kind of transition from Salvador Perez. And at times when Perez is catching, I think he's going to play DH quite a bit. You talk about that lineup, that ballpark, something to think about at 7-1 for the rookie of the year. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And then we'll quickly hit the long shots. Who you got for the rookie?
So I'm in the same boat as you. And if you go to the exclusive tabs, you can actually get either of the Blue Jays rookies to win the rookie of the year at plus 230. So you get Kaz or Trey Savage, either to win the AL rookie of the year at plus 230. And quickly, while we're at that tab, there's also a couple others that were just added. Vladdy to hit 40 plus bombs in the regular season, plus 425. Jays to win 110 regular season wins, plus 700. 110 is 40-1. And then the Blue Jays to break the record, single season record for most wins. I think that's 117. You can get that at plus 6,000.
Beautiful. Jake, rookie of the year.
Yeah, listen, boys, if you watch the World Baseball Classic, I was on here. I said to you guys, keep your eye out for Owen Casey. I love Owen Casey. I think he's 30-1 playing for the Marlins this year. Was on the Cubs. Probably get a ton of playing time with the Marlins, if I had to imagine. Listen, they're not going to be a great team, but a bright spot like a guy like Casey. You saw him at the World Baseball Classic, like really impressive bat. So I like that. 30-1. I thought that number was great. And then, you talked about the Japanese, Munetaka Murakami for the Chicago White Sox. Like, the thing is with the rookie of the year, it's probably going to come from a team that's really not that good, right? Like, it's going to come from a team that, it's their one bright spot is their awesome rookie that they got. And Munetaka Murakami has that opportunity. At 7-1, I think that's a great number. I also love the Blue Jays exclusive we have. Either one of those top guys to win Rookie of the Year. I think you're getting great value there at plus 230. So that's kind of where I lean for Rookie of the Year. Go Canadian feel on the NL side with Owen Casey. On the AL side, go with the Blue Jays and Munetaka Murakami.
Love it. Okay, before we finish up, we figured we'd do a long shot or two. Can be anything. Our favorite picks over 20-1. I got two. One of them is in the rookie of the year race. Logan Henderson from the Milwaukee Brewers. He came up at the end of last year, looked good, had a great spring. He's going to be in that starting rotation right off the bat, 24 years old. This is the sort of player that, if he has a great season for a team that desperately needs him, he'll be a huge part of it. I think that gives him a big push. And we have seen rookie pitchers have brilliant seasons and make it. So he's at 20-1. And then I teased this a little earlier. You want a little more Jays action. Dylan Cease, the biggest offseason signing, coming to Toronto. Off year last year. You look at his career years. He sort of has a brilliant year, then a so-so. He's due to blow up this year. 25-1 for Dylan Cease as the guy in the two-hole for Toronto that could very well end up being the ace by the end of the year. Pat, what about you?
I mentioned his name already. Vinny Pasquinito, 35 to 1 to record most runs batted in. We talked about the ballpark. We talked about how potent this offense is going to be. And I think he could rake Bobby Witt and some of those guys off the bag. So I like him 35 to 1. And Jake and we've been talking a lot about the World Baseball Classic. I know we were really dialed in. Haas, you were as well. Junior Caminero, I think it's 25 to 1 to lead in most home runs. I almost thought about him for MVP, but then I thought there is not a shadow, like there's not a chance in hell a guy from the Rays is going to win the MVP. So another way I can get a piece of this electric factory is most dingers in the league. And that at 25 to 1 meets our threshold for most for the long shot. If you want to go with RBIs, it's 14 to 1. That doesn't really, is a quote unquote long shot, but I think there's some value there. So those are my two long shot bets.
Oh, I'm in on that Pasquatch 35 to 1. Good stuff on that. Jake, what do you like kind of in the long shot here?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I talked about the NL Cy Young, and, injuries can happen. I know the big boys are up top, Skeens, Yamamoto, Sanchez. You work your way down the list, though. 35 to 1 on Nick Pivetta at San Diego Padres. Like, listen, I mentioned already, you're getting great value in the Padres to win the division at 10 to 1. Pivetta last year had a really nice season. He had a 2.87 ERA, 31 games started. He was 6th in Cy Young voting for San Diego. So, listen, I think that value is really nice on Pivetta, Canadian as well. I mean, that helps. So 35 to 1, I think is real nice. Besides that, I mean, a lot of the ones I've given out were pretty long shot. Like if I go back to Owen Casey, I think 30 to 1 is a great number. Also, I believe this guy's Canadian too. I think he's pitching for the Mets. Jonah Tom. He was a big name last year, but I guess this year is officially his rookie season. He's also 30 to 1 for the NL for the NL Rookie of the Year. So another guy I'd probably keep my eye on. Floater on a couple Canadians. You get a little bit of Canadian feel outside of the main market of the Blue Jays. I think that's probably the way I go this season. Back to Canadians a little bit more, but also back to Boys in Blue.
I will ride with you on Owen Casey as well. And guys, been a little hot. Yep. We how about last night the Sens, LAGC, Spurs, and Raptors to cover parlay added to the Coolbet account just in time to sprinkle the board for MLB futures. Gang, it is all up at Coolbet right now. I mean, I'd imagine most of them will probably be up through Thursday start of the game. There's just the one game tomorrow night. But with, I believe it's the Yankees, Giants, and then the Jays get going on Friday. So get over to the exclusives, to the Major League Baseball futures department, and get your season-long bets in. And again, we're all riding with the Jays over 88.5 wins, and you can still get them at plus 275 to win the AL East. I will catch up with you two characters later on in the week. No Scotty Pat for the Houston Open, so we'll have to figure out some picks for tomorrow. And then, of course, by the time we get going on Thursday, we're going to be into the Major League Baseball season, so timing is of the essence. Boys, thanks so much. Enjoy 15 games in the NHL tonight, and one more sleep until you got a ball game to watch. Great stuff.
Oh, this was a lot of fun, Huss. It's excited having the Jays season back, baseball season back, and maybe we'll put a little parlay together, a futures parlay. We'll talk offline.
I love it. I'll fire off a few in the group chat. Good stuff. There's boys Jake Bolin Moss, Pat Gregoire, at P Greggy, at Jake Bolin Moss. Make sure you give him a follow. And do it as well with all of our exclusives that we're throwing out at Coolbet Canada. And you know where to get it at coolbet.com. All right. Before we finish up, we do have the tickets. I pulled a number of everyone that entered. Shout out to everyone that did. I wish I had more seats. Thanks again to Dr. Terry and our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. The winner is Kevin Soldier. So, Kevin, great stuff. Appreciate you and everyone entering to win the tickets. You sent your email in as well, which is great. I will send you those shortly. Enjoy the game tonight, Jets and Vegas Golden Knights at Canada Life Center. Listen, a couple more things to get to. Let's give a quick thanks to our friends at Aikens Lake, and we'll come back and wrap the show. Making our finishing touches with our winner to get out to Aikens Lake this year. Don't forget, folks, if you're looking for a world-class fly-in fishing experience here in the province, where you can be on the water in less than a couple hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. World-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Terren family and the Aikens team. Booking now throughout the summer, over 75% full. So check it out now at aikenslake.com and get your bookings. And if you are looking for a great summer job for you students out there, go to aikenslake.com and inquire as well about opportunities for the upcoming year. All right, so we just finished up. Great stuff on the baseball with Jake and Pat. We got a huge slate of games tonight in the National Hockey League. Let's bring Connor back in for just a minute, as we do need to finish up to get this podcast up. But Connor, 15 games in the NHL tonight. We're going to be focused in on the Jets and Vegas Golden Knights, but man, I pulled up Cool Bet. I mean, the Sens Red Wings game is massive. Ottawa plus 110 underdog. Detroit minus 130. Habs plus 113 at home against the Hurricanes tonight. Columbus needing a win against the suddenly hot Flyers. They're minus 135. And then, of course, Sharks Predators going at it. Huge game for the West. Plus 115 for San Jose. Minus 135 for the Preds. And here, Winnipeg plus 106 at home against the Vegas Golden Knights. Thoughts on tonight's board?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's so much. I mean, 15 game slate, and so many of them have massive playoff implications that there's really a lot to look at here. And that game that you mentioned, and we talked about even in the first half an hour of the program, Senators Red Wings, is a very interesting one. I mean, Ottawa, second night of a back-to-back with travel, no Shabbat, no Sanderson, and they're still plus 110 on the road against a Red Wings team that's right next to them in the standings. You'd think maybe that number would be a bit wider, but Ottawa's been playing great recently. If they can get good goaltending, that's absolutely doable for them. Kraken Panthers. How hard are the Panthers tanking, trying to get into the bottom 10 to keep their first round pick, which is top 10 protected? That's a game I think you could see the Kraken win. Since those two, if you look at the league-wide standings, like the Panthers want to pass the Kraken going down. So I think this is a game that maybe they'll maybe take it a little easy and just kind of ethically tank in a way. But the game of the night for me, it doesn't really have playoff implications. Well, the game of the night's probably Sens Red Wings, but Wild Lightning, two great teams. Hughes, Kucherov, is he in the Hart? Is he going to win the Hart? That's going to be one that I'll be watching the highlights later after we wrap up at Canada Life Center with the Jets and Knights.
I did bet the Kucherov Art Ross or a Hart Trophy yesterday at plus 120 over at Cool Bet. Favorite parlay tonight. Listen, I think the Bruins smoked the Leafs. They're minus 189 right now at home against Toronto. Leafs are done. Going to put the Bruins along with Columbus in Philly and the Kraken, as you mentioned. That one, when I did it a little earlier, plus 464. We also did a little 4-1, and this one is tough. It's favorites, not huge favorites, but the Islanders over the Blackhawks, Ducks over the Canucks, Nashville over the Sharks, and the Kings over the Flames. That one is plus 624. And just for fun, I'm going to get a little action on the Ottawa Senators tonight. I don't know how they'll do it. They've got Artem Zub and 5 other guys playing defense, but I think they find a way. I've got Ottawa with Boston and the Oilers tonight. Bounce back game for the Oilers. Connor McDavid had a lot to say tonight. I think he does his talking on the ice. Don't mind McDavid a couple points as well for that. Before we go, thoughts on this one tonight? We kind of laid it out earlier. We know what we're going to be getting. A little more Barron, Rosine, Lambert. We got Elias in the top 4. We got Hellebuck back in. This is kind of last call. I mean, if this team wants to be talking about meaningful games over the course of the last 10, to me, you have to have it. But it's also Vegas coming in after a big win that they really needed And they're still needing to lock down a playoff spot, as Gary mentioned, but also in striking distance of the Ducks.
Yeah, and you look at the week ahead for the Jets. The players, they won't be looking ahead, but we can look ahead here on this program. Colorado, Thursday and Saturday, right? So you lose tonight, well, you got the number one team in the National Hockey League coming up back-to-back home and home to round out the week. So this is a game that returning home, the Winnipeg Jets, Connor Hrabchak's in net. They're going to try their absolute best to keep their playoff hopes alive and take this one. And hopefully, because the Jets have been Jekyll and Hyde this year, and they get blown out by the Bruins, but then play the Penguins tight and play well in that game and all of this stuff. And they beat the Avs a couple of weeks ago too. What kind of Winnipeg Jets team are we going to get? What type of Vegas Golden Knights team are we going to get? They've been Jekyll and Hyde. They're coming off their best win, or one of the season, on the road against Dallas, but they've been largely underwhelming this year. And they have, might finish second in the Pacific with like 90 points. Like it hasn't been a great year for Vegas either. So, I know we're the experts, Huss, and we try our best to predict these games and how they're going to go, but both of these teams are just so wild one way or the other that I truly am just like curious as to how this one's going to go.
Yeah, I felt like an expert when the Raptors were blowing their 30-point lead in the fourth quarter, and we almost didn't cover that number, but it was experts at the end of it. Needless to say, lots waiting for you. I may even throw up one of the exclusives. I'll fire the guys off. If you want to check in a bit over at CoolBet, we'll get something up for tonight with a nice little boost. But other than that, make sure you get your bets in for the baseball season over there. And then, of course, after the game or when you get up in the morning, head over to the podcast or YouTube and full recap of tonight's game with Connor and Liz on Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. We're back tomorrow. Tomorrow's show will be great. We're going to have Dan Robertson on the show. We're also going to have Murat Atesh. Lots to get to with Murat based on our conversation from last week and the changes and what we've seen develop over the last little bit. So that is all coming up tomorrow on the program. Congrats again to Kevin Soldier. And thank you to Dr. Terry and St. Vital Dental Center for sending a WST listener to tonight's game. I'll be up in the 300s if you're there. Would love to see you. If pop by the hangar, we'll usually be holding court there in the intermissions, and up in 316 for the game. And by the way, if you want to join us for the last WST game of the year, go to winnipegjets.com/WST and grab your tickets for Jets and Philly on April 11th. We will be there one more time for the season in the WST section. Would love to have you join us. That is going to do it for us. Huge thanks to Adam, who's doing a killer job while Remus is away for a few days. Of course, to Connor, and to our guest today, the infamous Gary Lawless, Brandon Rewucki, and Pat and Jake for a great baseball conversation. Folks, enjoy a great sports night. Tigers back at the TGL at 6, 15 games in the National Hockey League. We will break it all down tomorrow, live at 1 on YouTube, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks to all of our sponsors and all of you for taking in the show today. We'll see you tomorrow on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.